Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you so much to our hosts for the wonderful opportunity for this event and for the chance to work closer with this country. All good? My name is Nellie Gale, and I'm the Community Engagement Director for Apparel at GS1 Global Office. Together with my colleague Jeanette van der Stoel, who's here from GS1 Netherlands, we are here to talk today about the future of sustainable textiles. And at GS1, we believe that data, particularly standardized data, is what's going to power that future. Data that can be used to universally convey supply chain partners and regulators information like key materials, working conditions, working conditions, countries of origin, and more information. So we're focusing today on the white t-shirt. The white t-shirt is one of the most ubiquitous items on the market, with billions created every single year, particularly here in Bangladesh. But the white t-shirt can be more than just a t-shirt. It can represent a transition to a new economy and a new way of working with sustainability, especially when it acquires superpowers via data. So who is GS1? GS1 is a global standards organization. So we're neutral, not for profit, and focused on building interoperability between everyone in the supply chain, including the consumer. So this means we're not here to sell you a software or garments. We're not here to buy garments either. But instead, we're here to encourage you to adopt a universal business language for data. So what are standards? Standards are an agreed upon way of working that makes business more efficient for every single party that agrees. So the example I always like to give of how a standard works is the language that I'm speaking now. So right now I'm speaking in English, but in this room, I'm sure we speak between all of us over 15 different languages. But English is perhaps the most common to us for very different reasons. So I'm speaking English today for the purpose of helping everyone understand my message in the most efficient way. And GS1 standards do something very similar, but for data. GS1 standards help us to identify, capture, and share data interoperably, which is what allows your white t-shirt to convey key details like product identity, traceability, certifications, and supply chain visibility. We believe this begins with identity of products, locations, businesses, and items. So for finished goods, interoperable product identity is what helps everyone answer questions like, what is this product? How can I find out more about this product? And who owns the license to this product? They're really fundamental parts of doing business with retail goods. So sometimes GS1 is known as the barcode people, but we're actually the data people, and particularly product data. The GS1 GTIN, the Global Trade Identification Number, which those of you who work in the business may also know as the EAN, is used billions of times daily as it's scanned in barcodes, all the way from the simple 1D barcode you see here on the left to an RFID EPC tag. It's an ISO conformant identifier, and it's what powers data capture and share because every product's key data can be conveyed via a universal identifier. Okay, but how does this relate to traceability? Well, we aren't just the product identity people, we're also the place identity people. So our global location number, or GLN, can do for facilities, processors, and distribution centers what the GTIN does for products. It's also an ISO conformant interoperable facility identifier. So basically, it can help companies answer regulatory questions about where items are finished, where items are grown, where products are derived. And it's the basis in many ways of traceability. So how do we help you carry the data down the chain? Why is GS1 part of traceability? So traceability is about answering these 4 W's for every single stop along the supply chain, every one or every facility that your product interacts with. And right now, particularly as garment manufacturers, as RMG suppliers, you work with maybe 20 different platforms and solution providers to help you answer a rapidly expanding number of requirements for brands, which we just heard about in the great forum before. With every new requirement comes different data languages, right? So it's, again, It's as if instead of answering one question to one answer, you have to answer in English and then Bengali and then Urdu and then Hindi and then all of the other languages we speak. So GS1 provides interoperability and particularly in traceability by establishing a centralized way of identifying data. So these inefficiencies can be reduced massively. Through the GTIN, the GLN, and serialization of items, we already have a massively deployed program to help brands with supply chain efficiency, particularly via RFID. Radio frequency identification is an area that GS1 holds very close to our heart. In some ways, it's the foundation of what we do. But what we've done for logistics and supply chains with our standards, we believe can also help from raw material to finished good, and help you with creating garments and collecting data that you need in order to stay competitive in the market. GS1 standards, including data carriers like QR codes, linear barcodes, and RFID tags, can help interoperably carry data on a batch lot, trade item, or serial number. That basically means you can collect data and share data on any granularity that you want. It means more data about your products and more information that you can give your suppliers as they demand and as you decide to share. GS1 QR codes contain the GTIN, that same product identity you use in your traceability and your RFID tags. And it helps you share data about the product online. I know a big reason all of us are coming together today is because regulatory compliance is something breathing down all of our necks, right? And as much as it's great for the advancement of the industry, it presents a huge challenge to garment manufacturers and to brands. This regulation will mean that brands need to start using, if they don't already, consumer accessible data carriers on the product. So data carriers like QR codes, for example, will need to live permanently on the product, and they'll also need to have within them an interoperable identifier. The GTIN with the QR code can be the basis for this regulatory use case. Our GS1 digital link standard is what connects your product identity with the internet. So again, many solution providers have proprietary identification schemes. You might get a digital ID from one, a digital ID from the other. And GS1 believes that this is great because you may have different purposes for different things in the supply chain. But again, we want to give you a neutral, interoperable language at the heart of all of your data. So the GTIN, combined with the QR code, can go online and help you with consumer engagement, including regulatory requirements around sharing recycling information, care instructions, and traceability data. All of the data that I know you as garment manufacturers here have in your ERP systems, I know you take a lot of care to collect and have invested massively in producing. Now it's a question about how do you get that data to the right stakeholders and in a way that everyone can understand it. That's where GS1 comes in. So in total, GS1 is the framework you can use to empower your garments with interoperable data, all the way from identity, the global trade identification number, down to point of sale. So the same identity that you can put in a t-shirt or a location can also be read when you scan the item at retail. We believe GS1 is a wonderful connector between the work you're doing here in Bangladesh and the work of the brands, and additionally, what consumers will be expected to do in the future when it comes to caring for their garments, making them last longer, and disposing of them properly. Traceability is something that we're really working on expanding with GS1 standards in Bangladesh and actually throughout South Asia. But that will require that manufacturers like you work together with us to explore facility identification and adoption of standards. The global location number, the GLN, is a great way to start. So while you may have many different identification schemes already, by using the global location number, you have a solid basis with which you can communicate with all of your partners in the supply chain. So how do you get started with GS1? I've heard the bell, so I'll skip to it. You can reach out to GS1 Global Office about registering your facilities with the global location number, and also about how to communicate with your brand partners about data. So the global trade identification number, ways to communicate batch and lot data for traceability. All of this can be benefited by the use of standards, and we're here to help. Additionally, Jeanette will be hosting a panel later on traceability with a number of solution providers. So I really encourage you to go there and to dive a little bit deeper into the way that we can share data. We look forward to working together. Thank you so much.